decades, we have labeled black people who are excessively obedient to white folks as Uncle Toms. We identify them as someone who has betrayed their cultural allegiance, who will sell their people out. But the real Uncle Tom was the exact opposite. Let me tell you about it. I'm the Young Black Mayor, your #1 history influencer. The real Uncle Tom was Josiah Henson, born a slave in Maryland in 1789. His autobiography was published in 1849. The Uncle Tom character we know of comes from what was considered to be the greatest novel of all times, Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe, published in 1852. He was submissive to whites, but still a hero to blacks in the book. Racist playwrights of the 19th century wrote Uncle Tom in as a sellout to his people, performed by white actors in blackface. In real life, Uncle Tom escaped from slavery through the Underground Railroad. The real Uncle Tom purchased 200 acres of land in Canada and developed the self-sustaining community of free blacks called the Don Settlement. There, he started the British American Institute, which taught and employed former slaves. He learned how to read and became more active as an abolitionist, returning to the U.S. several times to free more slaves. He was a preacher and served in the Canadian Army, leading a black militia unit in the Canadian Rebellion of 1837. Josiah traveled to Great Britain in 1851 to meet Queen Victoria as a speaker, raising money along the way for his community back in Canada. He died in 1883, and in 1983, he was the first black person to be featured on a Canadian postage stamp. Essentially, Uncle Tom started a black town with over 500...
You know, as black people, we so quick to be like, bro, you Uncle Tom, bro. You done sold out, bro. When in our actuality, we should be calling people Sambos. We should be saying, you old Sambo, boy. Because this is where the term Uncle Tom came from Josiah Henson. Josiah Henson was a slave who was at like 9 years old, beat unconscious for reading a grammar book. Later on, they took a slave named Sambo. Sambo's job was to beat Josiah Henson when he went acting right. That's the real Uncle Tom. Because Josiah Henson was so powerful with the slaves, he had so much control, they needed somebody else to control him. So in a nutshell, who we call Uncle Tom was an overseer of the slave. But today we wouldn't have called him an Uncle Tom, we really would have called him an OG. See, he never snitched. He died because he knew the whereabouts of 2 black women who was runaway slaves, and he never snitched and they beat him to death. So in all actuality, Josiah Henson, aka Uncle Tom, was the person holding down the slave quarters. So really it's a compliment to be called Uncle Tom. Man, we gotta learn something.
You like to use the words Uncle Tom a lot, only when it fits. Do you know who Uncle Tom really was? Sure. He was that dumb nigga who used to think Simon Legree for whipping him. Wrong. That's another one of those lies about our people that has been accepted as true. Who was he then? Superfly in disguise? No, George. In real life, Uncle Tom was a slave named Josiah Henson, who escaped and walked all the way from Kentucky to Canada with his wife and children. And there he started the first manual training school for our people. How you knew that? I read. Sometimes I listen. You could do the same thing. Huh? You heard of the Underground Railroad? No. Well, Josiah Henson helped 100 slaves escape up north even before there was an Underground Railroad. He was a brave man, a great leader. And I'll tell you something else, George. I'd never call you an Uncle Tom.